America's liberty is under assault and women are rising to the defense. It's time for Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer. Common sense talk with women and men about politics and standing up for America. With your host, nationally acclaimed speaker and author, Debbie Georgatos. Ladies Can We Talk starts now.
Hello, welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. This is Debbie Georgatos and my great second hour when I'm joined by my leading ladies. This week we have Jenny McGarry and Carrie Kellerman.
Good evening. Hey.
Hey, ladies. Okay, we also have on the line Sydney Powell. Sydney?
Hi, Debbie.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
Great. Well, I did not get a chance to tell our listeners. I'm going to give the briefest introduction to you before I let you tell us about your great article you wrote. Sydney Powell, I've actually met, has been in Dallas and widely known in the legal world. She served as a U.S. attorney, an assistant U.S. attorney from 1978 to 1988. She is just a lawyer of lawyers. She's worked on criminal trial work, civil trial work. She's headed the appellate section. She's received countless honors as a lawyer, she teaches law. She writes instruction manuals for other prosecutors. She's now in private practice, and she wrote a book I want to urge everyone to read if you have not, called Licensed to Lie. And you would think and wish when you're reading it that you were reading fiction, because it exposes prosecutorial misconduct by the Department of Justice that's simply breathtaking. And so beside having said that, and I really urge people to read that book, reason I was hoping and very glad that I was able to get Sydney to call in tonight was because of something you wrote, an article, which I'll just read the title, and I'll tell our listeners we'll post it on Facebook in just a few moments or after the show. But the article is called The Countless Crimes of Hillary Clinton, Special Prosecutor Needed Now. And Sydney, coming from someone of such serious reputation as you carry in the legal world, this is a really serious thing to say. And I think that people talking about Hillary or supporting her want to think that all of these criticisms of her are just kind of politics, but they're not. So can you just share with our listeners what you're talking about when you talk about Hillary and serious crimes?
Yes, there is far more to it than politics. In fact, politics really has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's a simple, non-political application of the law. Secretaries of state are trusted with the most top secret, confidential, classified, highly protected information with respect to the national security of our country. And she took that so lightly, with complete disregard for the law. Both the Federal Records Act and the Freedom of Information Act are civil statutes that require public officials to keep and maintain records so that they may be provided to the public to provide for government transparency. Now, obviously, the top secret things are not supposed to be provided to citizens, but they are supposed to be maintained as government records because they are. It's important to have a history of transactions and important things that are going on around the world, and to be able to look back at them and decide and understand what happened, why it happened, and who was telling whom what. Apparently, she has destroyed our ability to do that in any number of areas, not the least of which is Benghazi. Now, supposedly, her server has been wiped clean. If it is true, this private server that she had at her home, which should never have had any confidential or top secret documents on it at all, it should never have had any information on it that was supposed to be protected in any way. She has publicly assured people she knew what confidential information was, yet now she claims she didn't have any on her server. Basically, if her lips are moving, she's lying. That itself is a violation of 18 United States Code Section 1001, the false statement statute. So to the extent she made any false statement to any other government official about not having classified information, that's now belied by the Inspector General of the State Department himself. What really set my whole attitude off is the fact there wasn't even an inspector general at the State Department during her entire tenure there. That is absolutely appalling. The inspector general is a presidential appointed watchdog who's supposed to represent the taxpayers and make sure that the people in the agencies are following the rules.
And Sydney, she didn't have, she declined. She refused
right.
an Inspector General, right?
Right. She refused to have an Inspector General in the State Department during the entire time she was running this whole off-the-grid software and communication system. One of her big advisors, Huma Abedin, who I've referred to as her right hand, was using ClintonEmail.com. Never mind, Huma Abedin was also working for Teneo, a Clinton-related company, and also drawing a salary from the Clinton Foundation at the same time. She should have been serving only the State Department. I mean, the corruption runs so far, so deep, and so wide. The other thing that I find especially appalling is that no telling how many high-ranking officials throughout every branch of our government communicated with her at ClintonEmail.com, which they had to have known if they had a grain of sense in their heads was not a government email, because all official government emails are .gov.
Can you prosecute everyone who used that email as well as Hillary?
I think certainly the prosecutor should be investigating, a special prosecutor should be investigating the highest-ranking officials that knew she was not conducting her business through state.gov as she should have, because they are complicit and implicit in some degree in her scheme to keep it all hidden.
We're speaking with Sidney Powell, who is a former U.S. attorney. She's a widely recognized and highly accomplished appellate attorney, and has received all sorts of awards in the legal world. And she's the author of License to Lie. And tonight we're talking about her article, The Countless Crimes of Hillary Clinton. You mentioned numerous times the Espionage Act. What exactly is that, and how did Hillary violate that?
The espionage statute is very detailed. It prohibits removing protected information, and that is simply information relating to the national defense. That is in itself classified information. It prohibits communicating it, delivering it, transmitting it, causing it to be communicated, delivered, or transmitted, permitting it to be removed from the proper place of custody, even through gross negligence. Well, she removed it deliberately. Permitting that information to be lost or destroyed through gross negligence. She destroyed it deliberately. There are any number of violations of 18 United States Code Section 793. And then there's also Section 18 United States Code Section 2071, which prohibits destroying government records. We've already got her admitted destruction of thousands of emails. Of course, she claims most of those were personal, but she's not entitled to destroy that. Her entire server with everything on it should have been turned over to the government. Actually, it should have never been on her server to begin with, but then once it was, it should have been immediately turned over, and it should have been somebody independent with the government to pull off of it what was needed and evaluate what was classified or not and what was personal or not. I mean, we cannot simply let the hen guard the fox guard the hen house.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So when we're looking at this entire issue, how long ago did they start raising a suspicion that emails were going to our personal server?
I don't think anybody did, and it didn't come out, at least not that I heard, that she had this private server until earlier this year. And I think there's some evidence that the State Department started trying to get documents from her shortly after she left. I'm not absolutely sure of the timeline. I've not seen those things in writing. I've only heard an oral reference to something like that. But, they should have gotten her information instantly, and nothing should have been sent to ClintonEmail.com.
Can you give us an idea of how many people this might entail? You said going after people that communicated with her and should have known better. Can you kind of give us a rough estimate of how many people we might be talking about, and what would the law allow us to prosecute them for, and what would be the punishment for that?
Well, 18 United States Code Section 793G is a conspiracy statute within the Espionage Act that carries a 10-year potential term of imprisonment that I would think would apply in these circumstances, because all those people who emailed her anything about anything serious like Benghazi, for example, would have known they were emailing it to a private server. Mm-hmm. So I would think that would implicate the President of the United States, Valerie Jarrett, Chief White House Counsel, Lisa Monaco is counterterrorism advisor, Catherine Rumler, White House Counsel, Andrew Weissman, General Counsel, Deputy Director of the FBI. Coincidentally, all of those people were Enron Task Force prosecutors that are virtually indicted in my book, Licensed to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice, because they became cover-up experts. They were masterminds of hiding evidence that showed people were innocent while they made up crimes against them and sent them to prison for a year on an indictment that didn't state a federal offense.
In your opinion, do you see these happening? These people being prosecuted?
Will there be follow-through? Yeah,
will there be follow-through on it? And what would be the time frame?
Well, follow-through remains to be seen. Basically, as I call for in the article, we need a massive public outcry for the appointment of a special prosecutor. Congress in 1999, I believe, allowed the Ethics in Government Act to lapse after the Whitewater incidents. And so now the only way a special prosecutor can be appointed is either by putting enough pressure on Loretta Lynch that one is appointed, or having a federal judge appoint one, like Judge Emmett Sullivan, who happens to be the judge in the Judicial Watch case that has led to this much disclosure of Hillary's information. We're very lucky we have Judge Sullivan on the case because he's the judge who appointed a special prosecutor to investigate the Department of Justice itself, which is also featured in my book, Licensed to Lie, Exposing Corruption in the Department of Justice, the whole Emmett Sullivan and Ted Stevens story. So Judge Sullivan's fully capable of turning the tables on the State Department and has the guts and integrity, as I've said, to do so. And I've got a number of articles about him at Observer.com also, as well as one called All the President's Muses that made a drudge hit early on because of Catherine Rumler, Susan Rice, and Lisa Monaco sitting on either side of the president, and two of the three of them being named in the book for their corrupt prosecutorial tactics.
You know, Sydney, I just find this, I mean, your article, we will post for our listeners, to post it on our Facebook page, Ladies Can We Talk. I really urge you to read it. And I want to go back to a point I was making in the beginning, that I think that many people hear these, oh, there's some email scandal, some server, so she didn't follow the rules. But really what you're describing in your article is an actual genuine threat to national security. Doesn't her private server at home make it more likely that she is subject to having espionage, having China, Russia, other enemies, you know, getting at it, getting access to it? She may not even know they got access to it. That's one question. And then the other one I want to hit on is just this, you know, other people who have done far less than she did have actually been prosecuted under these same under the same statute you're talking about, right?
Exactly. Yes, having a private server, she would have been a target from the get-go for Chinese and Russian hackers looking for her private email. So they probably have absolutely everything that ever crossed through her server. In fact, if we want copies of it, we ought to just make a deal with them to get it.
There you go.
China has
be more up front.
Right. And I'm sure it's a complete file, too. There won't be anything missing from that one.
We get her yoga lesson things, yeah.
Do you foresee pardons at the end of Obama's administration for any of these people?
It will be very interesting to see. God, I hope not.
Who would pardon Obama? It'd have to be the next president.
Yeah. The chances of getting anybody to indict him are between slim and none. But he had to have known. There's just no way he didn't know that his Secretary of State was emailing from a private server, and no doubt he was communicating with her by email.
It makes you wonder if there will come out news of a private server that the president also had while he was in office. That I could see that falling right in line with his entire philosophy he's had during his tenure.
That the laws don't apply to me.
Exactly.
Right. The laws don't apply to him. They don't apply to Clinton. They don't apply to Valerie Jarrett. They don't apply to anybody that's on his team.
Yeah, we are speaking tonight with Sidney Powell. And Sidney, again, I read your book, License to Lie. I remember thinking while I was reading this, I wish it were fiction. It's so damning, frankly, of our Department of Justice, of the conduct of people who've sworn to uphold the law. So I really urge our listeners to read that book, and also to read this article we're talking about tonight. We're speaking with the author, Sidney Powell, and the article is entitled "The Countless Crimes of Hillary Clinton, Special Prosecutor Needed Now." Sidney, thank you so very much for calling in tonight.
Oh, you're welcome, Debbie. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And please let people know to order the book from me on Amazon, because Amazon will tell you it's sold out when I've got stock there. There's been a significant effort coming from the top to keep this book forever.
Oh, my. Well,
we'll
we'd
do
like
our
to go
part.
around that.
So, yeah.
We'll do our part to get it out there.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. The New York Post was going to write an article, reached out to Department of Justice and pulled the article. The New York Times refused to review it. Barnes & Noble won't put it on the bookshelf.
Well, Sidney, that sounds like you're hitting the right nerve.
Yes, I'm hitting a big one. The Department of Justice hates my guts.
Do you have a bodyguard?
I was wondering, I was going to ask you that, I swear.
You know, everybody asks me that, and my answer is 4 parts, partly facetious, partly true. Number 1, God did not give me a spirit of fear. Number 2, I'm Presbyterian. Number 3, the horse is out of the barn. And number 4, I'm happy, healthy, and not doing any skydiving.
Well, very good.
Very good.
Maybe a Doberman is in your future.
No Inspector General. You can turn that down, too, I hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Sidney Powell, thank you so very, very much for calling in. This is Debbie Georgatos, Carrie Kellerman, Jenny McGarry. Ladies, can we talk on 660 AM The Answer? Come on back after the break, and we'll talk about